Hey everyone, Steve here. So excited to see 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐓𝐨𝐼𝐧𝐡𝐨𝐦𝐞 𝐭 episode number 222. The much anticipated November stats are in, and as usual, I got your numbers and your stats as they pertain to the detached and townhome markets of both Toronto and pockets of the GTA. But before we get started, I wanted to wish you and yours a very, very happy holidays, and for those celebrating Christmas, a very happy Christmas Eve. So let's get right into the numbers. So the average detached property in Toronto back of October 2022 was trading just over $1.61 million. As we fast forward into November, it dropped slightly, now trading around $1.56 million. In Richmond Hill, we were trading around $1.86 million for a detached property into October. A small drop, now trading around $1.84 million into November. In Markham, we went from $1.74 million for an average detached property up to $1.77 million into November. And then in Vaughan, we went from $1.66 million for an average detached property up to $1.74 million for an average detached property into Vaughan. Now, months of inventory, supply and demand. We know a balanced market hovers around 4 to 5 months of inventory. So back of October for detached properties in Toronto, we were hovering on 2.4 months of inventory, slight decrease now to 2.3 months of inventory into November. Richmond Hill, we went from 3.4 months of inventory down to 3 months of inventory. In Markham, we went from 2 months of inventory down to 1.9 months of inventory into November. And then in Vaughan, we went from 3.5 months of inventory down to 2.5 months of inventory. That's going to be a very interesting statistic to pay attention to as we head into the new year. The townhome market, what happened there? The average townhome in Toronto back of October 2022 was trading at $1.28 million, and in November dropped slightly to $1.22 million. In Richmond Hill, we went from $1.23 million down to $1.17 million for a townhome. In Markham, we went from 1.2 down to 1.18 into November. In Vaughan, we went from $1.09 million up to $1.2 million for an average townhome property November 2022 in Vaughan. Months of inventory. This is going to be a very, very crucial statistic to pay attention to. So for the townhome market in Toronto, we went from 1.8 months of inventory down to 1.7 months of inventory. So if you've been looking for a townhome in pockets of Toronto, you've definitely still are experiencing multiple offer situations. In Richmond Hill, we went from 1.7 months of inventory down to 1.4 months of inventory. Markham, we went from 0.4 months of inventory in October up to 1.7 months of inventory. And then in Vaughan, we went from 2.9 months of inventory up to 3.1 months of inventory. And you may say, well, why is there such a lack of supply in this housing category? Because properties priced at $1 million up to $1.25 million has equated to almost 17% of all the sales as recorded by Trev. This is a very, very desirable price point for those people looking to purchase a property in Toronto and pockets of the GTA. Now, an interesting statistic to pay attention to is what's been happening year over year. So the average Toronto detached property back of November 2021 was trading around $1.81 million. Like I shared with you, now it's trading around $1.56 million, which is a drop of around 16% year over year for an average detached property in Toronto. Now, don't forget, this is a macro stat. If I take a look at other micro markets in Toronto, they haven't seen a depreciation. If anything, they've seen a slight appreciation year over year in terms of prices. In York Region, what happened? The average detached property back in November 2021 was trading on $1.76 million. Now into November 2022 is trading around $1.64 million, which is a drop around 7.3% year over year. Anyways, I hope you found these stats and these numbers useful. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to give me a call, send me a text, shoot me over a DM or an email. As always, be kind and happy holidays.